of Hollywood, Only the Dead Can Kill, Stories from Jail, and How I Learned to Cook, and other writings on complex mother-daughter relationships. A nominee for the Pushcart Prize, Margo has been featured in national and international media, including NPR, BBC News, BBC World Service Outlook, O, the Oprah magazine, Heyday, Penn's Fightin' Words, the Press Democrat, the San Francisco Chronicle, Mexico's El Petit Journal, Holland's Psychologie, and TV and radio. MargoPerin.com is her website. She teaches poetry in various places in the North Bay. Please welcome Margo Perin.
Thank you so much, Sandy, and everybody. Georgina Marie, I love your poetry. I'm new to your work, and it's really lovely. And I too didn't know it was Martin Luther, that the reading was on this day. So it really made me reflect, and your work is beautiful. It's so healing to hear it. So thank you. Thank you so much. So I'm, in honor of Martin Luther King, I thought I would read from my latest book, which is called Plexiglass. Because when anybody says lockdown, all I can think about is people who really are in lockdown, and those are people who are incarcerated. And I'm hoping that people feeling so confined now, who are not used to being confined, maybe they will become more empathetic about people who really are in lockdown. Because most people who are targeted by the prison industrial complex they shouldn't be there. You know, it's a whole industry, you know, as Michelle Alexander talks about in The New Jim Crow, it's modern slavery, you know. So I've taught in prisons and jails since 2001. And this book is a book of poetry. I'll just show the cover of it. It's a book of poetry based on what I witnessed in the jails and prisons where I taught. Sorry, those are changing the glasses. Who lurks in the shadows of our midnights? A draft of old sweat, body soaked, clothes walks through hallways, the sores and wounds of outrageous fortune bleeding through air, stifling hot or cold. Warehouse-sized rooms overflowing with children nobody wants or wanted too much. Bodies scarred with the semen and broken dreams of damaged adults who raised or braised them encased in concrete and steel ribs, of 2- and 3-tiered sagging bunks on which languish decaying bodies of men and women cementing the soft shell of 2.5 million children who never were, and counting. Slipping in and out of shadows, seeking matter among perennial strangers and not, on blank pages lined, confined, and not, letting names of this and that emerge into light. Wanting, not wanting to be, found men and women in orange carve their black, on white, wanting to be known and not, known, facing the unknown and the known. Shadows no one wants to see. In the umbra of the jailhouse, men and women begin to see and recede. Not a dramatic reconstruction, but a culmination that keeps on culminating. A process of unwelding, a reforging. Soldering together metallic fragments of an interrupted life. A series of battles, won and not, won and not. Completing the story of an undoing, and in so doing, construct a redoing. Scars remain, a body, a map, upon which blood was spilled. Some comfort themselves in the land of tell no one nothing, I ain't no snitch, not even about oneself. No one ever knows the whole truth, what goes on behind the scenes. I caught a case, if only, it wasn't my fault. If only I had, if only I were, if only I could. Perhaps on every headstone, not Bene Vidi Vici, but no truth on which we stand, one not knowing under no God, in a landscape carved in mirrors. All Dorothy had to do was put on red shoes. Men and women use a pencil, not to be a disappeared, not a knot. 3-inch pencils and paper in hand, one eraser each, they can become the authors of their own selves. Barred from a window in this time and space capsule, marooned inside their selves, with sharpened enough pencils, they break. Clouds pass across the landscape of the body, texts falling like stones into a sea of longing. We're all falling, failing. Excuse me. Wanting to be found, scared of getting caught. The outside world, a hard shell. Masks are donned. Gunman, robber, rapist, killer. Inside the classroom hunting for words, soft pulp. Can you hold two realities in your head at one time? You are who you are. You are who you were. The classroom glares like a radiation chamber. Rectangular funnels of light ricocheting off walls of concrete and steel, between more concrete and steel. The stratosphere of this county jail. Chalkboard littered with broken psalms, gang emblems. Stories turn the classroom into a lighthouse, show how a pencil can be used as a laser beam to illuminate the scars of those thrashing about in the waters. Incarceration is being caught in shark teeth, 3 rows pointing inward, no time off for time served, no possibility of parole. Another tooth pulling, each one of the men and women closer to the throat, closer to being swallowed up. Our societies disappeared. We say light is life and dark is death, but when a seed rises above the ground, it starts to die. When a baby leaves the womb, it starts to die. When the leaves of a tree get too much light, they wrinkle and fall. What if the shadow is really the light, and the light the shadow? Men and women hidden in the shadows because tall, black, and short on green, writes the man with the moniker Hallmark. Because moms didn't love me, writes Shanice. Because my stepfather said choose me or him, and she chose him, writes Janice. I've been homeless since I was 12. When I refused to do the laundry, she burned my books, writes Peter. That way I learned the importance of education. My babysitter made me stick my pee-pee in my sister, writes Tom. Because. How many crimes are committed in the name of I exist, I matter? How many crimes in the name of I exist, I matter, and you're gonna pay? Let us set up a memorial dedicated to all men and women living inside. Let's announce in the obituaries the names of those who serve on the battlefield of society's wastelands. The sores and wounds of outrageous fortune living in a sea among us, seen and not seen, sown and not sown in the seams of prison walls. Who will catch me if I fall? Asked the young man with the swollen eye. Germaine. We're all looking for a father, protector. Some call this God. Some call this a black hole. Step right up, take your pick. Father is Just like those corny greeting cards, Joe with the broken teeth writes, Father is love, protection, who to call at night when lights go out. Who to ask when, what should I do? Escapes between lips under a no moonlit ceiling, buzzing with strips of white light. Net under the tightrope, web under the feet, white root arcing up through the soil on which she and he stands, one nation under God. Wanting to be known and not known, facing God, facing Father. Mr. refuses to allow anyone to call him by his first name. I won't cry. I promised myself I wouldn't cry. He cries as he reads about being tied to a beam in the basement of his father's home, beaten senseless. A beam, an extension cord, crying and reading. Smack. The classroom door slams open, ghostly pale, sharp-jawed. A deputy barks, the call back to the 6 dorms on the lower level of one of 7 buildings of this one county jail. 6 warehouses cast in the gray fog of perspiration and boredom. Toilets unstalled, side by side, along a wall mirrored by single cots rowed, inches apart, divided by long steel picnic tables nailed to the floor, except it ain't no picnic. 6 dorms designed for 45 men, now holding 60, soon to be 70, or 80, set beneath 7 administrative offices, hovering above 4 rounded windows to keep 2, 4, 6 eyes on 240 men day and night, week by week, month by month, year by year. One man worth $30 a day. And by the way, in ICE detention camps, the prisons get $100 a day per person that they lock up. Count, the deputy, a master in the playground he wishes he had been, always in his grasp. A pen, a pad of paper, no more rustling of writings, whispers to neighbors, finger tapping. A dorm, Adam, stand up. 3 men shoot to their feet. Checked off with a black ballpoint pen, black a color forbidden to inmates except for skin. A number scribbled on a pad, clipped to a brown board. B dorm, Baker. There's no one from B dorm in here, offers the man. Face tattooed, abandoned at 5, ping-ponged between meth relatives. He ran away at 12 with a dog, a girl, a lifetime of prison. His face tattooed, so no one will mess with me. The officer glares in caricature. What about be quiet, don't you understand? E dorm, Edward. 5 men shuffle to their feet, centuries masked behind bowed heads, silent lips. Yes, massa. F, Frank dorm. The last stands to be counted, the one beaten with an extension cord tied to a beam in a basement. Men in orange stand to be counted, clock on the wall, ticking above, mounted. 1, 2, buckle your shoe. 3, 4, knock at the door. Deputy soon to Iraq will be called. Black body bags, back home will be hauled. No more standing to be counted. Clock ticking on the wall, mounted. Thank you.
Oh, Margo, such a powerful reading. Thank you so much for the work you do and for giving voice to people we would not see and hear. It's really tremendously powerful and beautifully written. So I invite everyone to unmute, and if you have a comment or two for Margo, now's a good time to make it.
Those were so powerful, really just right to the heart.
Mm-hmm. insightful and moving.
Mm.
Brings you right into that place. And I love the way the poems one flows from the next, and that you read it like that. That was really great.
Yeah. It's hard to find words after a reading like that, Margo. It just hits you in
God.
such a deep place. So appreciate you sharing it. Be sure to get the book.
Mhm.
So
Thank you so much. And I hope that the feelings that, you know, you're feeling about it will help move things along so that, you know, the prison industrial complex will be broken apart, you know?